Oh, hey guys, welcome to Hard Rock Rewind, where we chat about all things metal and hard rock. My name is Troy Barrett, my co-host is Dale Keating, and today we had a brand new guest on the show, Dave Leslie from the Baby Animals. Dale, what are some of the takeaways you got from this interview?
Yeah, it was an interesting one. Dave actually kind of shed some light on his touring with Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen gifting him a guitar. He's touring with Bryan Adams, and the chicken bone incident. And Dave was on Deal or No Deal. So listen out for that one.
Awesome. It was a fantastic interview, guys. And without further ado, here it is. All right, so hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we have a brand new guest on the show. His debut album went #1 in Australia, sold 4 times platinum. He supported Van Halen, Bryan Adams, to name a few. He's a guitarist from the Australian rock band Baby Animals, Mr. Dave Leslie. How you going, Dave?
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, Dale and Troy. Thanks for having me aboard.
Dude, my pleasure. My pleasure. So, look, I guess just before we sort of get into all the stories and whatnot, for those people who are unaware of how you guys sort of formed, give us just a brief sort of snapshot of how you guys all met and formed the Baby Animals.
The band was formed in September '89 in Sydney by Suze, who had recently returned from London, had a solo career in London. And I just knew a couple of people. Eddie and Frank, the original bass player and drummer, were from Perth. However, the band didn't form in Perth, it actually formed around Sydney. And I think they auditioned a couple of guitar players, and I walked in there with my blonde mullet and my Mesa boogie and all that sort of thing. But I already knew Eddie and Frank from having seen their other band in and around Sydney, and like they were the hot rhythm section at the time. So I thought, well, if these guys are involved, I'm pretty keen. And as soon as Suze opened her mouth, I'm like, wow, what a voice, you know. That's really cool. And she's been trying to get rid of me ever since.
Fantastic.
35 years later.
And so you guys, you had, like, you straight away you felt a rapport with Susie, and sort of songwriting wise, you felt like a connection there as well?
I think so. I mean, she brought a bag of songs from London, so there was a few demos and everything, and we started playing and started fleshing out these demos. But then, you know, we'd get together and jam every day, and everyone in the band had a mutual love of Led Zeppelin and riff-based rock. And then we started getting these supports of the bands, like we did a couple of Barnsey supports and everything like that, and the Angels. And all of a sudden we had to have this tough edge. And it kind of formed this tough kind of edge because it was, you know, some of those crowds, especially when you've got a girl singer, they can be pretty brutal. And so the sound developed organically like that. It's just out of necessity, really. I mean, we still have that pop element, and that still sort of, you know, maintains to this day. We can still get nice and quiet, but that hard edge kind of happened over that next kind of 2 years or so of just relentless touring and rehearsing and playing. Yeah.
And you know what, Dave? Like, especially back in that era as well, to have a female vocalist, let alone a female front person, was something a little bit different in that rock space, right? So, you guys were essentially kind of battling against, some stereotypes back then. So, were you guys aware of that at the time? Was that something you guys had discussed and you were trying to figure out ways to work through that or combat that? Or was it just something that was never really spoken about?
Yeah, I don't think it was ever really spoken about, but we found out pretty quick. You do a Barnsey support in Sunshine in Melbourne on a Saturday night, man, you find out real quick. That's for sure. So, almost we had 40 minutes of music and we played it in about 25. We just let's just play it and get out of here, because they were brutal. The crowds were brutal. But, it kind of it toughens you, tests your metal and kind of toughens you up a little bit. Yeah.
So you guys got, from what I saw, you got a spot supporting the Angels, I think, on the Beyond Salvation tour. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys obviously, I think, unsigned then. What was that like? Because I would argue that was probably at their height with Dogs Are Talking, and that album was like quite big in Australia. What was that tour like, playing with them and supporting them, going around Australia with them?
It was a great idea, because on the Dogs Are Talking single, they put 3 unsigned bands on the B side of it. So we put one of our demos on it, And then for the Dogs Are Talking tour, they put the 3 bands in a high-ace bus.
Yeah.
And we went road tripping around Australia, and that was pretty funny. Yeah, it had 3
Wow.
support acts. We'd play for maybe 25 minutes each or something like that. Great fun. I mean, it was a great idea, and myself and the Brewsters have firm friends ever since. Yeah, it was really good for us. Yeah.
And so did you, the bulk of the songs that you had written prior to, after that, was it long after that before you guys got a deal?
I'm just trying to think of the time frame, because we were demoing at the time, because the original version of Break My Heart, which is a completely different style on the first record, was the demo, which is on the B side of the Dogs Are Talking. We were basically told by our management, who happened to be the Angels manager, so in a way it was fortuitous that we were included on that thing. It was, yes, it was fortuitous. There was a bit of strategy involved. I not afraid of saying, but it worked out well. But he basically said, "This is your job now. This is your full-time job. You guys get together every day and rehearse and write and whatever. It's bedrooms, it's rehearsal studios, it's whatever. It's recording demo, whatever you do. It's pretty much every day." And so, man, I got boxes and boxes of cassette tapes of just ideas and stuff like that from those times, which one of these days I'll sift through, But it became like a full-time thing. And then we did a bunch of demos with Kevin Shirley. And those demos were part of the reason why we got signed to Imago, which was a New York-based label.
You went and recorded with Mike Chapman. So who was it? Them, the label that picked Mike Chapman? Did you guys want it? Was it someone you guys wanted to work with? And also, did you have the bulk of your songs, including the singles like Early Warning, One Word, and What? Were they also written prior to going to record the album?
Yeah, most of them were written. Mike Chapman he produced the Blondie and that sort of stuff, Heart of Glass, My Sharona. I mean, we were big fans of that guy, the Sweet Wheel. And he being an Aussie, he was on our radar. And Imago was a label started by a guy called Terry Ellis, who had split with his business partner Chris Wright in the label Chrysalis. So Blondie were a Chrysalis act, and Mike and Terry knew each other, and they'd had great success in the past. And it just seemed obvious that, girl singer, rock band, he'd be the perfect guy for it. He's Aussie. So there's all these factors that just were like, this is perfect. It was a great, and it was such a great learning experience. The songs were, a little bit different kind of shape before Mike got to them. And so when we went to record, we did about 2 weeks of pre-production in Manhattan, getting there every day. Mike would be there like an orchestra conductor kind of thing with his thing. Okay, what song are we doing today? All right, blah, 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 blah. How does this one start? We'll play it through. Okay, let's play the intro. Play the intro, right. Play the intro into the first verse. What happens there? What's the transition? Who plays what? And he just basically, we were in boot camp the whole time, which was fantastic because then by the time we came to really record, I mean, not all of them were watertight, but we had a fair idea of, what we were doing and how it was going to sound.
I'm just listening to you speak, and these are your lived experiences. Like, this is your life. This is something that you've gone through, right? So, and you're sharing that with us. But for people like Troy and myself, that's like big time. Like, Chrysalis was a massive label. Like, they had some massive acts. Like, I always remember seeing Chrysalis on the back of CDs and growing up. And so that's big time. And the fact that you're in Manhattan and you're in this environment where it's just right, restructure, rewrite, re-record, and you're on the precipice of something pretty great. Like, did you, at that time when you were going through all this, was that something that you were able to take stock in and sit back for like 2 seconds to think, this is something pretty major, this is pretty big what we're embarking on right now?
I think so. It probably means more now to kind of relive it and go, what an amazing opportunity. But when you're in it, you're kind of just in it and you think about the songs and this, and sometimes you think, oh God, imposter syndrome. I don't know if I'm even good enough to be here. My guitar's out of tune and all this sort of thing. It wouldn't stay in tune, so they sent my Strat to this guy Roger Sadowski in New York, this big high-end guitar builder guy who
Yeah.
asked me, "What do you use for a guitar plectrum? A brick?" He says to me, like the Jewish kind of. But the guitar came back and it played great, and we were very sort of conscious of concentrating on the songs, but then we're also in Manhattan. And I'm sharing a room with Kevin Shirley, you know, Dave and Cave, the Dave and Cave show. We never close. And so there was that aspect of it as well, too. You know, we worked hard, we play hard. So
Did you
it
still
was
have the
really
blonde
good
mullet
fun.
at that
Yeah.
point? Were you still rocking the blonde mullet when you're hanging out with Kevin Shirley?
No, well, the blonde had kind of grown out because when I first sort of joined the band and it was decided that I was in, Suze goes, do me a favor, never cut your hair. Don't ever cut your hair. So I didn't for like 2.5 years or so. And it, you know, got a bit out of control. But no, the blonde mullet phase had kind of started to phase out a little bit.
You would have had more fun.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I don't think I could have had any more fun than I did somehow.
So there's a fantastic doco on YouTube about the baby animals, and it looked like from having a look at it, looked like Mike pressed you guys pretty hard in the studio. Was it an enjoyable experience, but he just wanted to get the best out of you, or was it one of those scenarios where like, oh man, I'll never work with that guy again, he was just too hard?
It was hard because he was very particular. There was other times where it was just so much fun where he took us out. We were about to do, we were trying to do Ain't Gonna Get, and Ain't Gonna Get No Love Tonight was a slow burn, you know, and it was like we played it like the demo came back from London, and it was a thing, and we'd all been drinking, and Mike comes on and he puts Nevermind the Bollocks on.
Yeah.
Like, and through the big speakers, like loud on the way back to the thing, because we were all plugging in. And he goes, "You hear that? You got to do it. You got to do that on it. I just want you just go for it." And all of a sudden we're like, "Ooh!" And then it didn't happen straight away, but we knew and it was nothing like that song. But he just gave us that sort of inspiration to go, just give it that treatment and see what happens, you know?
Yeah.
Because he just like it's a flatliner, and we need to do we got to do something with it. And he was great on that aspect of things, listening to the overview and going, even like the Break My Heart, you know, I think Twin Peaks was really big at that time where the Chris Isaak songs all over it. He goes, let's just do that on it. He goes, hey, it worked for him. Evidently it did. And so we, did that twangy spaghetti westerny kind of thing because the song was nothing like that. It was this bubbling kind of almost ice housey 80s thing, and it just became it had a completely different set of clothes on at the end of it, and he was really good like that.
Wow.
Make you see things that you wouldn't have even dreamt were possible with that particular song.
Look, isn't that what like a great producer does? They just have this kind of, I don't know, this external lens looking in where they can just, I guess they can kind of sense or tell what something needs or what energy needs to be pulled from the people to deliver a great performance and essentially flip on its head what a track is, right? So like you guys lucked out. Like you got someone that was super in the moment and super focused on you guys to pull the best out of you, right? And so that's like what a start to have as a band. It's crazy.
It used to be funny because he wanted me to sit in front of my amp to cut guitars, and it was like loud, and we brought a Les Paul along, and I'm using this thing, and it's this JCM 800's belting me in the face. Got my headphones on. He goes, because I want to hear the guitar talk to the amp. They've got to have that thing.
Yeah.
And so I'd be cut this part, and then he'd go, stop. Okay, hang on a minute. And they'd talk, and he's in the control room. Everyone else is in the control room, and I'm on silent. I'm out in the live room in the fish tank, waiting to be like. And he'd tell it because he used to great stories. And I'm looking at him going, I think I've heard this story. Yeah. But with the gesticulations and everything, I've heard this story. And so I play this ugliest chord I possibly can, right? Just try and get his attention. And he's like, hang on a minute, talk amongst yourselves. And I think, and the head starts to go, what are they talking about? Like, is it shit? Is it like, is everything that I'm doing shit? And you start to kind of, your head. And so I put the guitar down, walk to the control room, he goes, go again. And he did this to me until I started to get really frustrated, and I started to second guess myself and everything like that. And anyway, we went out. There was a local bar that we'd go out to most nights, And Mike decided to stay around that night. So at this local bar, and I said, man, what are you doing? That was torture today. It's like, you make me feel like I can't even play. He goes, well, you sound just like you. I'm like, oh, God, you're killing me here. I said, he goes, I said, what did you do that? And he goes, because I started to get really angry. I was losing my shit. And he goes, yeah, because you play better when you're angry.
Crazy.
I'm like, really? That's why? I mean, I can do angry if you want angry. But yeah, it was that sort of thing. He goes, I just needed some aggression. I just wanted to kind of just sit you back there like you're fucking with me. Okay, yeah, you're a great producer, but it worked, I guess.
Yeah. So you've got some pretty cool guitar parts and a lot of fiddly stuff going on. Did you have a lot of that stuff written prior to recording, or did you work a lot of that stuff out in the studio, like your solos and that? Were they locked in before recording, or were they, you worked through them in the studio, writing this, as he was producing the tunes?
Pretty much as he was producing. I'd come in with I'd go home the night before if we're doing guitars the next day, for instance, we're cutting solos or whatever. I'll probably go in with what I'd been doing and maybe have a couple of other options just in case I'd start and he'd go like, nah. And you go, okay. And you don't want to be sitting there scratching your head going, well, what do I do? So I always kind of arm myself with a couple of options, a couple of different approaches, and then see if we can work on something from there, kind of thing. And other ones like Ain't Gonna Get was just a blower, just like a one-take blower. Yeah. It's just like just paid by the note, play, and just go scribble like Frank Zappa style kind of thing.
So with those types of guitar styles where it's just kind of blow your load, and then that was the take that they kept, were you like, shit, like I don't really remember what I played. I don't really remember. I'm going to have to refigure that out. Like we're going to have to do that live. There's an expectation to reproduce that. Or were you more so just like, live's a different beast and I can just kind of, keep it similar but change it up a bit? Like, were you a note for note kind of guy, like a transposition of the recording to the performance, or were you just kind of just let it?
Not particularly. Yeah, I guess live's a different thing. I mean, there's bits that are kind of signature bits that you kind of have, melodic-y bits that they're like hooky kind of things. Other bits are just, and over the last 20, 25 years or so, they've evolved a little bit anyway. They've changed a little bit to what the recording is, just out of not boredom, but just you want to explore and just change it up a little bit.
What I love about your playing, and it's funny how on the doc, and I think you've mentioned it before. I've seen that Susie thought your playing was very much like Ian Moss, sorry. But your style is very much. We hear a lot of rock bands. They'll just play power chords along with the bass. But Eddie and Frank, the rhythm section on that album and live, from what I've seen on YouTube, I haven't seen you guys live in person, but they're so thick. But it gives you some. I love that you doing all these little triads and other sort of little stuff that's little chordal sort of stuff and riffs. Like Early Warning, you've got the intro, then you've got the main riff, which isn't just sitting on a power chord. It's really they sound so fat, but it just gives you so much room to kind of be a bit more melodic and little chordal sort of stuff underneath, which it sounds awesome, Yeah.
I know what you mean, man. It's like those guys were like a big comfy couch, and you can afford to kind of just embellish and do that, knowing that it's going to be still supported, which is good. So it gives you a scope. You don't have to be that guy to fill in all the holes. You can embellish and be the icing as opposed to having to be the cake, because the cake was already there. Sometimes in sound check, they'd be playing. I'd be like, they'd like, you want to do some guitar? I'm like, I prefer just to sit and listen to these guys, actually.
Yeah.
Why go up and spoil it?
Yeah. Wow. So when you finished the album, were you guys like, when you finished it, it was mixed and whatever else, and you first heard it back, were you kind of like, well, I think we're sitting on something pretty special here? Or was it just like, we're just going to try and tour this thing and just try and get it as well as we can get it?
Because it's funny now, these days you are more involved in the process, whereas then it was like, well, you recorded it, Caveman and Mike are going to mix it, then we're going to get it sent to mastered, and then we're going to play it to you, and you go, that's your record.
Yeah.
Whereas, these days you've got an opinion about everything, and so when I heard it back, I loved it, but all I did was pick the holes out of it. pick the bits out of it. Then you go, oh,
Yep.
could have gone and done that again. That guitar's slightly out of tune because I couldn't listen to it objectively at all. I
Yep.
even took the cassette home and played it to my mum, or took what we've had because we had to break for Christmas, and so I flew back to Australia with a cassette of what we had so far, and I played it to my mum. I had to walk out of the house. I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah.
She liked it, but I couldn't remove myself from it, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes still can't listen to it and go, oh, yep, okay. But it sounds unbelievable. That drum sound is unbelievable.
Dude, even today, man, it stands like I listened to it the other day, and the production-wise, man, it sounds like huge. It still sounds like if a band went in that didn't want to sound like, Pro Tools went berserk on it, the production value still sounds amazing. Thick as, huge. Like, it's such a great sounding record. It's amazing.
Yeah, Mike definitely had that. That's for sure, as far as where the parts go and everything like that. And sometimes you used to drive him crazy because you'd forget what you did, and then he'd go back and go, no. Remember we discussed you do this, and there's a reason why it's that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think the cool thing is I think there's a hidden art to, and it may not even be something that's tangible that people can work towards. Producing an album that doesn't have that dated sound. So at the time when it's released, it sounds modern and it's fresh. It's like, wow, that sounds killer. But then 20, 30 years later, you listen to it back and you're like, it doesn't sound like it came out in 1990 or 91 or 92 or 93. It still sounds like it could have happened today. Now, I think like a lot of albums, especially in that era, especially in that genre as well, like you listen to it and it's, oh man, like you can tell it's kind of 89. I think with your album and some other albums around the same time, like like they're not dated, like they don't have that dated sound, which I think it's a blessing, and it's not something that everybody has been able to achieve. And I don't even think people know it at the time. They just put out the best album they can put out, but there's just something about that album that still sounds current.
Yeah, right. I hadn't even thought about it that way because I just listen to it, with my own ears. But I get what you mean. It's still, you put early warning on and that thing still just jumps out of the speakers at you.
Oh yeah,
still got that really fresh thing, got that energy. Yeah.
So once finished, was management just like, all right, we're getting you guys on the road? And did they say, was it like, let's do Australia, or was there talk about doing the US first, or what was it like after the album was done tour wise?
We did Australia. I think, we did like single launches in and around Melbourne and Sydney, and all of a sudden it started the momentum was going. I remember we were playing at the Great Northern Hotel in Chatswood on a Friday night. And I was about to leave and the phone rings and it's our tour manager guy. And he goes, when you come, park a couple of blocks away because you can't move in here. There's people and you go, really? And there was one weekend, I think it was the Saturday night. Yeah, the Friday night was North Wollongong Hotel. And we got our first ever hire car and drove down Mount Ousley kind of thing and drove in the North Wollongong, and there was fucking people everywhere. I'm like, what's going on? Has someone been shot or something like that?
Yeah.
And it was, no, that's your crowd. And you're like, wow, really? That was just about a week or so after Early Warning had been released. And it just started to really gather momentum then. And then we got, then we started getting food backstage and stuff. I've got a photo somewhere of the time we got cold cuts. And we're like, wow, man, we're getting food. We don't even need to eat dinner before we come to the gig now. Yeah.
So was it eventually went at number one? Was it more of a slow burn that it got to number one, or was it within pretty quick sort of timing once it was released?
I think it was a pretty slow burn because we'd gone to Europe with Bryan Adams before that. Because we got an international deal and all that sort of thing, we scored this support tour on the Waking Up the UK. It was the Waking Up the Neighbours record, the big record that had all the big hits on it.
Oh my God.
And so we did our first night in London somewhere, I think. And we were the support act. It was great to do. And we were kind of a bit glammy, but went over pretty well. The Germans didn't like us that much, though. We got stuff thrown at us.
I wouldn't have thought you guys are glammy, though. You guys are pretty like denim, black shirts, just straight up rock.
I know we'd gone to Wheels and Doll Baby, and we'd gone to that shop Lip Service in LA, and we got kitted out in the vinyl pants and all this sort of shit. And glossy, shiny stuff because the grunge thing hadn't quite hit yet, but we sort of wanted to get dressed up.
Yeah.
So we were, leather pants and funky boots and all this sort of thing. But that tour was great, and we were really well looked after. It's funny that those sort of guys, they got nothing to prove. They give you a sound check whenever you can. They're really friendly. That was a really good run for us. Yeah.
Did you learn much off, how long did you tour with him? And what was it like every night watching him? Arguably at he's still amazing, Bryan Adams, but that would have been his absolute peak, you would think. His band would have been on fire. Like, he was on fire then. What was it like to be there on that tour and soaking all that sort of stuff up? Would have been amazing.
It was amazing, actually, because, the crowds were really big. We did 3 nights in Wembley Arena, just 3 nights in a row kind of thing, sold out, because there was massive hits that they had. But the band were really well drilled, great bunch of guys, and their producer, Mutt Lang, came out onto the road at one time.
No way.
And so we'd do our set, and then it's like you can do a bit of meet and greet or whatever, and then go and so I'm like, where should I stand tonight? I'm going to stand right behind Mutt because I know that that's going to be the best possible place you can stand for it. And there's 3 guys at the mixing desk. There's the systems engineer, there's Brian's front of house guy, and there's Mutt in both their ears doing cues, doing this, that, and the other, and sort of directing traffic. And they sounded amazing. It sounded just like the record. It sounded really good.
It's funny. How's that? Because
how professional,
You never hear of him on the road. You always hear of him.
He didn't stay out for very long. He only came out for a couple of nights, I think, just to oversee things.
Very few stories of him actually being out on the road trying to kind of recapture the studio sound. That's amazing.
It worked, though. The band sounded phenomenal. Yeah.
Did you get to
speak to him? Last time I heard him.
Did you get to speak to Mutt Lang?
No, didn't get anywhere near him. No, I did hit Bryan Adams in the head with a chicken leg.
Yeah, right.
That was they were good guys. They took everybody in the entourage out for dinner in Paris one night on a night off.
Yeah.
We're sitting there and it's like a Last Supper kind of thing where there was a big vacant space in the middle of the room and the tables were around that away. And night's getting on and I'm sitting with our manager, John Woodruff, and he goes, "This is fucking boring. It's so boring." It's fine, man. Let's just go, blah, blah. Anyway, he grabs this bread roll and hoiks it over to the other table, right? And then it gets returned, and then something else goes over, and then within about 10 seconds, it's on, and this full-on food fight erupts. There's mashed potato, there's blancmange, there's just shit going everywhere. It was unbelievable, and the middle of the floor was just like a mess. And I was aiming at Keith Scott, actually. I was aiming because he's a lovely guy, Keith Scott, great guitar player. And I'm aiming at him, right? And he sees it. He sees it coming at him with this chicken leg, right? So he ducks, and it smacks Brian in the side. I'm like, oh, it's like, you! And
that's
he never
crazy.
forgot it. I saw him one time, a few years later, he's gone, the chicken leg guy. I remember him.
No way.
And Dave is off.
Wow. It's crazy. And now obviously you guys also supported Van Halen on their For Unlawful Common Knowledge tour. Was that before Bryan Adams tour? And also,
no, that was after.
And what was that like touring with them at not their peak, but they were pretty much up there at their pinnacle, I reckon, around that time.
Yeah, it was a dream come true. It was an absolute dream come true. I still get buzzed when I think about it and the experiences we had, and as well how well we got looked after then too. Those guys took us on. They're crazy Aussies, and just hang out with Ed. Ed would always come and hang out with us, Ed and Alex. It was really good fun because Ed's always playing guitar. He'd walk into our dressing room playing guitar just the whole time, man.
Obviously, like your influences growing up were probably different to, I guess, that Van Halen style of music. Although you probably got into them maybe like when they broke big, but. Here's a guitar player who's completely changed the game. He's kind of like a generational Hendrix, right? So you had Hendrix, and then you had, I guess, Eddie Van Halen. So you're sitting there as an accomplished guitar player yourself. Was it just the weirdest experience? Like, was it weird? Was it strange?
It was a little overwhelming. I mean, compared to him, I sound like a kid with a broken hand. But it's funny because we both loved Eric Clapton and we both loved Angus. And so, Ed kind of grew up on those guys as well. Just took it to the next few levels. But he was a blues player at heart.
Yeah.
There was one time in You Really Got Me where every night they break into a different jam and you wouldn't know what they're going to play. And one night they played Crossroads, like the Cream version of Crossroads, and Ed pulled out the Clapton solo note perfect. Because I'm sitting there listening to it going, that's it, man. Yeah, every note. It still had his tinge on it, but it was the solo, even the high bits and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's a reason why he's him, that's for sure. But he was a good mate, and he just would want to jam and just hang out. So he didn't come across as that thing. He was just a nice guy, just a nice dude. Yeah.
And did you get the impression that they were also aware of you guys? Like, did you get the impression that they were listening to you guys as well? Like, would they comment on your performance at all?
I think on the first night they did. On the first night at Soundcheck, I was halfway through the outro solo, Early Warning, and I'm standing at the front of the stage and I looked down at Ed and Alex are sitting in the front row. And I shat myself. I said, I think there's something wrong with my amp. But they'd heard, I think Valerie Bertinelli had bought the album because Painless was getting a run on MTV. And so she played the album. She said, this new Aussie band, blah, 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 blah. So they liked it, and that's how we kind of got the tour through Val, which was good.
So was that sort of like, were you guys, after that, were you going back to Australia to continue touring? Or was that kind of like the winding down of the world tour sort of stuff, or supporting artists around the world?
Oh, that was just the beginning of it. Because then on the first night of the VH tour, when was it? January 26th, 1992, pretty sure. We were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the album went to number 1 that day.
Right.
So we had a bit of a party and all that sort of thing. And so we did 2 legs of the tour. We did, we went for quite a few weeks, kind of 6 weeks or something. And then they had a month off. So we went back to Europe for a month and played in the clubs at the same places where we played with Bryan Adams earlier, but just did a bunch of club shows, which was great too. And then went back and did another leg of the FUCK tour, which wound up in Hawaii. And then we had a couple of days off in Hawaii and then came home and pretty much started the Australian tour because since the album had sort of, the wave had crashed, we hadn't been here. We'd been overseas. So it was time to get going over here now. The momentum kept rolling.
Was there talk, did you guys relocate to the States, or was there talk about you guys relocating over there to pursue it further in the States?
There was not really any talk about it. No, we'd just go over and tour and come back sort of thing. Because that was back in the day where you'd get tour support from the record label. And so you could go and live on a bus and get hotels and do all that sort of thing and still be able to do it because someone else is footing the bill,
Yeah. Wow.
You're back in Australia now. The album's broken massive. You have a couple of massive supports behind you as well. What's the energy like in Australia for you guys at that point? So now it's all changed. It's all different. You guys have blown up massive, number 1 album. And so you've come back to do a bit of a tour in Australia. So what's that experience like?
Oh, I think I become a bit of a wanker. It was pretty good because then we're doing Palais, we're doing the Hordern Pavilion, we're doing these big gigs, and they even said to me, like, before we came, as the tour was being booked in Australia, they said, what sort of rig do you want to use? I'm like, what do you mean? They said, well, you can use anything you want. Really? That was good fun.
Let's talk about that. Let's go.
3 quad boxes. So I had my trusty old Marshall, but then we'd since got a PV endorsement through Ed Van Halen. So I had 3 quad boxes, had the Marshall in the middle, and then I had a 5150 head, which is going really clean and really dirty, both on the outside with the stereo effects, but with the Marshall still being like the tree trunk in the middle. Man, that was a great rig. I mean, it was a great rig because I didn't have to carry it into the venue, but it played me. It was great fun. And I remember...
You set that up. So whose idea was it to configure it that way? Like, were you right into your gear as much then as you are now? Because like I know you're a bit of a gearhead now still, but were you like right into that and the mechanics of it and the science behind box positioning, mic positioning, like routing of the heads and effects loops and all that kind of stuff? Were you immersed in that, or was somebody else kind of helping you with that?
I know it was kind of my idea, but I stole it from Ed, who used to have 3 boxes, a wet, like a dry and 2 wets on stage, and it was the only 3 that were running, kind of thing. Even though Alex had 2 boxes and there was 2 boxes underneath, so the sound came from everywhere. But it was a wet, dry, wet kind of rig. I thought, okay, well, given the opportunity, I can do that. So I got a rack-mounted delay and everything like that, and had ping-pong delays going left and right. And the sound came from everywhere. It was great fun. And so they said, yeah, anything you want. So, okay, cool, that's good. We can do that.
Wow.
I'm still into it. It's a lot more simplified now, but it was like your dream rigs. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. Absolutely.
And what guitar were you rocking at that point? Because obviously, like, the amps are one thing, but then you could basically have the pick of any guitar, right? So what did you choose? What were you running?
I was still rocking my old black Strat that I had for years. I'd bought a black Les Paul Custom as well, and a red EVH Music Man, which was gifted to me.
Yeah, wow.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
I wonder.
Sorry,
Fucking Dave's just sneaking off the tour bus with his guitar. He's like running off.
Yeah, because he always had guitars. He always had guitars around his neck. And one day, because it wasn't uncommon for him just to walk into our dressing room, hey guys, how you doing? Can I steal a beer? Don't tell anybody I'm here drinking your beer. Yeah, no problem. And one day he came in with a case. He goes, come and check this out. And I'm like, oh yeah. He opens up the case and there's this red Music Man EVH only ball there. I said, that's cool, man. It's not your new guitar. He went, no, it's your new guitar.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Yes, it's in the cupboard right there. It's still here.
No way.
And who does that happen to? Like, who does that happen to? You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't.
It was pretty special.
Insane.
Yeah, it was a buzz, and and I played the heck out of that thing. Yeah, it needs a refret now, and it looks like it's been run over by a burning army tank. Because the minute I got it, I'm like, cool. It sounds great. Yeah, it sounded good over 5150s. It didn't. Yeah. It sounded like me. It still sounded like me. It didn't sound like Ed.
Yeah. Wow. And so, were you guys writing when you were winding up that tour? Had you guys already started writing for like the next album, or was that kind of, we'll finish it and then we'll start writing for the next album?
On days off, myself, Eddie, and Frank would go and find a room somewhere with a bunch of gear and just jam out ideas. We could have been a little bit more conscientious, but we were just having too much fun.
Oh, totally, man.
So, but on days off, we'd go out and just find a little room, a little studio somewhere, which was kind of cool, and just sit and have a bit of a jam. So a lot of ideas from the second album came from those little sessions. But we could have been on the back of the bus, for instance. We had a little 4-track set up and everything like that. We could have maybe tried a little bit harder at that point. So we got caught a little bit behind when it was time to deliver the second one. Well, we're kind of still writing it.
Yeah. And so what was the production like of that experience recording the second one to the first?
Completely different, because the songs hadn't been really road tested.
Yeah.
So they were still kind of in embryonic kind of stages. They were demoed. We were really big fans of Living Colour. So we were a bit cocky at that point. So we wanted to get Ed Stasium, who did Vivid. Vivid.
Yeah, right.
Vivid record.
Yep.
Living Colour Livid. And wanted to do that. So we got Ed, but we probably, in retrospect, probably should have stuck with Mike, because we needed help with the songs, the structure of the songs, the choruses, the hooks, the this, the that, the other, But we were just, we thought that shit didn't stink at that point, So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And also at that point, Dave, so I guess, I'm assuming just based on what I've seen and read and heard and so forth, but around that time is, I guess, when kind of, another guitar legend came into the fray. So you kind of have, I guess, Nuno kind of cruising in at that point. Was he somebody that you were aware of, like, as a guitar player as well? Like, as somebody, you're a Van Halen fan. And I dare say Nuno is probably one of Eddie's biggest fans, from all intents and purposes, what I've seen there. So did you have an awareness of him as a guitar player and a musician at that point?
I did, actually. Yeah, well, it was hard not to be affected by, that porno graffiti record. That's for sure. You get through that. And we were doing myself and Suze were doing a day of interviews in the office one time. And so she's on one desk, I'm on the other, and we're just talking, doing stuff, because we're doing the press thing. And her phone rings, and she picks it up, and she goes, I'm like, sure. Yeah, I've got Liza Minnelli on my line.
Yeah.
And it was Nuno who reached out to the band because he'd seen the things and seen the clips and everything like that. And
Yeah, wow.
yeah, the rest is history. Yeah, a week later she was on a plane. Their first date was watching him play at Wembley Stadium for the Freddie Mercury tribute concert.
Wow. Were you there, or was she there?
Date.
Was she there, or did you go as well, or was it just Susie that
No,
went?
I didn't go as well.
Yeah.
No, there was no chaperone on that one. That was just
Oh no,
Susie.
sorry. I thought maybe the band went to go as well. Man, that's
No.
that gig's like, man, that's one of the all-time great gigs. I mean, it's just
It is,
like
isn't it?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently
So
Susan
just
met Brian May that day, and he said, "Oh," and she goes, what band do you play in?" And she goes, "Baby Animals." He goes, "Oh, I've got your record." So that made my day. Fuck yeah, man. Awesome.
Dude, that's crazy.
I was just going to say, like, I think I've watched that Freddie Mercury tribute like a bunch of times, man. Like it never gets old.
Oh.
But like for me, I think Extreme's performance on that is just like next level, right?
Yeah,
like of all the bands
yeah.
that kind of played on that, like that stands out to me as probably one of the best tribute performances of the night. Like, crazy.
Yeah, they went for it. Well, Nuno's such a massive Brian May fan, and they're such good mates, and so he's definitely did go for it. Yeah, that sort of crowd gives you goosebumps just thinking about it.
Totally, man. So what was his involvement? Did he have much involvement in helping you guys with in the second record at all?
Yeah, he did. I think his influence was really good. He helped us with the demos, demoing it up, and all that sort of thing. Spent a lot of time out in Sydney, and came on the road with us, and get up and have a jam, and it was great. We spent a lot of time jamming. It's hard you can't not learn something when you're around a dude like that playing guitar. Yeah. It's kind of so a bit of that kind of rubs off on you, and his whole musicality, his whole approach, his whole focus to everything was really good for us.
He's a phenomenal singer as well. I'm just going to say, like, yes, he's a great guitar player.
Everything, the bastard.
Yeah, it's just, like for me, like I enjoy listening to his singing, I think perhaps more than maybe Gary Sharon's. Like Nuno's solo stuff for me, I probably enjoy that more, I think.
Yeah, his solo stuff's really interesting. Yeah. But he's, very, very focused, and his idea of going on a holiday is just going to a studio in a warmer climate kind of thing. Spends a lot of time recording, but it's good because you just watch it and go, wow, man, it's really focused, and you learn from it. It's really good. Yeah, so it was a good influence. We didn't lose a singer. We just gained another guitar player in a way.
Did you ever sit down with, say, Nuno or Eddie and like, not so much lessons, but did you ever sit down and go, teach me a couple of things, or what's that you do when you do that part, or like any of that sort of that went on?
With Ed, I did, yeah, one time. I said, man, can you show me? And he went, come off it, man. Come off it. What, don't embarrass me. Or something like that. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I'll just leave it. It's okay.
Yeah, wow.
When I even asked him to autograph the guitar he gave me.
Yeah.
Come off it. Autograph it.
No.
Wow, man.
Yeah, so it was good. You learn by kind of osmosis.
Yeah.
Sitting, Ed used to come into the band, dressing room and just play.
That's insane.
Just jamming. You just go, wow. Yep, we just still had that feel, even over a little tiny PV amp in the back dressing room. It's still him because it's still those hands,
Yeah. And so you've done the second album. Tour-wise, did you do much touring with that album as well? Or what was the tour like for that sort of album in support for that?
Yeah, we did a domestic one, and then we went over to the US and did a Robert Plant support.
Oh, wow.
For a couple of months. But it was Robert Plant's own band. He had a bunch of English guys, and that was good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Played some interesting arenas and things. Yeah.
And so after that, obviously, you only done 2 albums. So what happened next, Dave? Like what happened with the band? Unfortunately, like how did it sort of come to be the end, so to speak?
We were kind of trying to write a third record.
Yeah.
Everyone was kind of, I think, like having babies and stuff. Family stuff was starting to kind of happen, all that sort of thing there. We're trying to demo. Suze had got married to Nuno and had moved to Boston. So that was kind of hard. So then you're kind of demoing stuff and sending it to her. And then she'd message back and go, so you expect me to sing on that? Or stuff like that, because, we were still doing 11/8 songs and, trying to be, real musically clever. And then then the court case happened. And that was with our former management, because the management kind of thing had fallen over because he was keen to get involved with Nuno's manager, because Extreme were like riding the wave at that point. And
Yeah.
there was a bunch of chat going on, and our guy got a bit pissed off, and the negotiations for the re-signing of the contract, which it had been 5 years, had stalled. And then we got hit with this court thing document, or a thing saying that you owe me for unpaid commissions. But really, unpaid commissions?
Your manager, this is your manager?
Yeah.
At the time, yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
So, if you re-sign with me, I'm prepared to kind of overlook it until a later date, but you owe me X amount.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's appropriate for me to get into the details of it.
No, it's okay.
It was, you just got to watch what you sign. There was a stipulation in the agreement, the management agreement. That,
isn't it just like super unfortunate that the legalities of things get in the way of the art? You know, like you're just a band trying to write some cool songs, trying to have some success, make a professional living. And it just gets bogged down with, like the legality of it all, and the red tape and the bullshit. Like how unfortunate, You don't strike me as somebody who's, who wants to take someone to court to screw somebody over. You're just a guy that likes playing guitar and writing tunes and gigging, and so for it all to be kind of struck down, and I guess like you guys were still like in a fairly good spot, like you could have put out a third album and absolutely creamed it, right? And so for it to be derailed because of some legal bullshit is just rough.
Yeah, to go on tour to pay lawyers is not great for the band's morale, put it that way.
No. Yeah.
It really, and it shattered me, because me and this guy were really good friends. We were pretty tight. We used to go sailing together, and we'd always go hang out, because if we'd be on tour, Eddie and Frank would hang out together. Suze would do her own thing, and it'd be like us. We're like, well, let's go hang. It was great. It was. I thought we had a really good relationship, and so it was quite hard. It was a hard few years, to be honest. Yeah, it was pretty tough. I don't recommend it. It's great for weight loss and sleep. The litigation diet. Oh, I thoroughly recommend it. Lose some weight and have a bit of stress, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't good for the band. The band kind of basically got dismantled.
Oh man, I never knew that. I've never read that part. Yeah, wow. So then once that happened, was there any? What was your sort of next move after that? Did you and the other guys think, should we start something under a different moniker outside of this, or you guys were at a point where like, we're just going to do our own thing and go our own way to do our own lives and have kids, or start a new band, or do something else?
Yeah, we had a cheeky little cover band that we used to play in Glebe every Friday night, which was a bit of fun, but there was nothing serious. But it was just good because we played together. The chemistry, we played together really well. I went off and joined Richard Clapton for a while.
Okay.
Played because I just had to keep playing. I didn't really want to bite the bullet and get a 9-to-5er. So we had a little baby, so that was kind of hard. And sometimes winter you're doing the washing up and the kids screaming and the rain's pouring against the kitchen window, and you think, what happened? Wow, like I was thinking, I want to be back on the tour bus, man. We'd be hanging out, man. What's going on?
Yeah.
But it's that's life. I don't regret any of it. It's just the way the timing was and everything like that, and it just happened that way. So just kind of keep on keeping on, I guess. Yeah.
And so you guys obviously reformed. Because I think maybe, if I'm correct, you did another album. Was it 16 or 18? 2016 or 18, or somewhere around that time?
Yeah,
was
it was.
Email?
Yeah.
Was it
Maybe
the single
12?
email? I think it was. Oh, was it? Okay, it might have been before that.
2012. But that was just myself and Suze and two other guys, because we had tried to get together, but because of the way the band had kind of split up, there was a lot of blame being thrown around. Yeah, that's for sure. And we tried to kind of rekindle everything, but within about a half an hour of being in the same room, it was just like, man, once the dirty laundry started being aired,
no,
this is not fun. This is not going to be. It's going to be it would be too hard to get across the line,
Yeah.
So Suze decided Suze moved back to Sydney, and decided to just get two other guys.
Yeah.
Nick and Dario, and Dario's still there.
Yeah.
and just write some songs. I always said to Suze, I got these guys. You'll fucking love them. They're really cool, you know, and they're Sydney based. Get together. Let's just, because we're always working on ideas, right? I've always got something boiling away on my little cauldron here. And so we put together a bunch of ideas and started doing some gigs. And that resulted in signing with this band called Social Family Records, this label, who were kind of heavily into the social media side of things, which was good for our profile as well as a kind of a relaunch. And so then did that record with Dave Nicholas in Sydney.
Yeah, wow, cool.
At least it gave us a bit of momentum, you know? Yeah.
And so from then it's just been, because I mean, I see you. Oh, sorry, go for it.
That's what I'm just going to say. Like, is that like, looking back on that record, like, is that something that you're super proud of?
I don't mind it. I think it's pretty good. Some of the songs it's different. It's not as hard rocky as the other ones, and it's kind of the way it was recorded was it's a little bit more kind of ethereal and atmospheric and things like that. It was just maybe the way that we were feeling at the time and the way the songs had turned out. But I don't listen to it every day, but I don't mind it.
Yeah. And so from there, you've obviously just been, because obviously over the years I've seen you guys on Atlas on, you know, Red Hot Summer Tour or a lot of festivals around Australia. So from then on, once you guys did that album, has it just been a sort of, you know, a consistent sort of summer tour type cycle every sort of year after that up until sort of now?
Oh, probably for the last 10 years or so. It's been a little on and off, but man, that Red Hot Summer whole concept has been an absolute godsend for us. We've been really lucky. We've got able to get onto quite a few because, as I was saying earlier, that we've got kind of a set list that we can skew the set list depending on what the environment is. And if it's say, like the last one that we did with ZZ Top, where we had to play after Rose Tattoo, man, you've got to go straight in and throw down straight away. And so all of the harder stuff came out then. But then when you're doing something like with Icehouse, you can afford to play some of the more ethereal, softer music because that's kind of that aimed towards that sort of crowd. So we're lucky that we've got those two different aspects of the band as well.
Yeah.
Even though it's still the same us, and we still finish with Ain't Gonna Get and still start with Rush You because that's just what works, you know, and it's been working for years and we're not going to mess with it because we tried to start with other songs and it just hasn't worked. So, you know, it's a bit predictable, but, you know, they call it, it's a cliche because it works.
Absolutely, man.
It's been the Red Hot Summer's been real good for us. It's been really good.
And you guys have just done a new single. You've covered Ace of Spades, which sounds awesome. Is Chris Cheney on the recording? Is that because I've seen a video of him playing live with you guys? Is he actually on the recording as well?
It was his idea.
Oh, right. No way. Okay.
Yeah. Because we've been writing and everything, and we're talking about, because we love to do covers. We do a cover of Fire in the set and everything as well. We just love to occasionally put a really well-picked cover in there, you know, just to break things up. And I think Suze was talking to about covers, and he went, Ace of Spades. Like, really? That's a bit it's a bit out of left field, but, you know, because we all know the song. And so we're like, well, we'll do it if you play on it. He's like, all right, I'll play on it. So he's on the recording. Yeah, awesome. He does. I do the. There's two solo bits in it, and he burns through towards the front of it, and then I do the first bit solo bit, and then he takes it home and then stays in, kind of thing. So you know, sounds really good, and it's so much. I mean, I'm such a big fan, and such a good fun to play with him on those runs. Yeah, on those shows.
Fantastic.
Great fun.
I guess more for me is probably just, I guess, the evolution of gear for you, like along your journey. Like, and obviously you've spoken a little bit about what you had early on in the piece, but I'm also aware that you're using, is it the Grubisa? Did I say that correctly? Grubisa guitars?
Grubisa. Yeah, Frank Grubisa.
Yeah. So how did that come about, and what are they like? And obviously you could, I guess, still choose to use whatever you decide to use, but for some reason you've chosen these. So what is it about those guitars specifically that you just gravitate towards?
I think they're really versatile. So I've known Frank for probably nearly as long as I've been in the band. We used to be neighbours, And so he used to do my guitar work because we used to hang out at this shop called Guitar Crazy in Coogee, and Frank used to be their guitar tech. So I needed a refret or whatever like that. And so Frank would work on my old Strat, and we'd get together and have coffee and talk about guitars and everything like that. And one day he goes, I'm working on my own design. So he shows me this design of the thing there, the Merlin. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And I'd had a couple of months off at this point. And about an hour later, we're picking wood. I'm like, oh, what about this bit of maple? And, a month later, the first Grubisa Merlin GM001, which I've got, just happen to have right here, was born.
Oh, wow.
And it's great. It's the neck, the neck is like glued in, the tenon goes to about there. It's got a sexy little bridge thing on it. It stays in tune. It's got coil taps, so it's really versatile. Goes heavy, goes clean. And so I just started using those. And then I've got 3 of them now. There's one with a trem, which lives in E flat. So I just got that's my baby animal guitar. And there's a Swamp Ash one as well. Plus I've also got a Telly that he's made and a Les Paul Jr. And Sousa's got one of his Tellys, and he's just a nice guy, and he's really good at what he does. But he's a sweetheart, dude. I love him. He's like my big brother.
You support nice guys always, but it's cool because it's kind of like it's like a 335-esque. It's like a harder, rockier version of a 335, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's chambered as well, so it's relatively light. So even though it's a solid cap, there's like a chamber in the. There's one obviously for the cavity, but there's another chamber. There's a whole lot of air in there. It's quite kind of loud, and just it springs. Yeah, it plays well, and just Frank does great work. So
it kind of reminds me. I used to have a Bellman Albatross back in the day.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to have one of those, and it was a pretty sick. That was very heavy. It wasn't chambered. It was all solid, but. Had some very unique timbers on it, but it gives me that kind of Bellman Albatross vibe. Like even though it's kind of like a double cutaway, but there's just something cool about that guitar. When I saw it, I'm like, what guitar is that Dave's using? So I kind of sleuthed it out a little bit.
Oh, right.
Yeah, saw a little bit about it, and yeah, dude, good choice because it's something that sets you apart from everybody else because. I'd say you're probably one of the higher profile people using those guitars,
Yeah, I think Jimmy Hocking uses them and Bob Spencer, and there's a couple of people. But it's good because you can liaise with the guy who's building the guitar, and you can shape the neck just the way you like it, and it's something that you can't get from off a shelf. You know what I mean? And you can always tweak something, I guess. But if you're in contact with the guy who's making the bit of wood, then you get kind of what you want, which is really good. And yeah, I like that guitar a lot. It's really cool.
But is there anything that you've lost along the way that you regret? Because obviously you don't have everything you've ever owned, or maybe you do. Maybe you're one of those people that hang on to everything. But I would assume that there's potentially pieces that you've lost along the way. So what for you is something that you regret kind of passing on to somebody else or misplacing or whatever the scenario?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't have my first ever Marshall. Wish I still had that. However, I've got a couple of nice old ones. Great. I sold the guitar that Susie was holding on the front cover of the first Baby Animals record, the Firebird.
Hi.
Yeah, don't have that one anymore. Not really. I've been a bit of a bowerbird, actually. I tend to keep a lot of stuff. I've gone through about 3 Roland 201s, Space Echo units, because I just can't get it to play with my whatever. But I kind of wish I hadn't sold them because, they're worth a fortune these days.
Yeah.
But guitar-wise, not really. I've tended to hold on to a fair bit of stuff.
And just quickly, just your take on, virtual guitar amps, so VSTs, plugins, all that kind of stuff, because obviously the industry's headed that way. A lot of recording is done just kind of, DI straight in, using the, the applications, the apps, like the VSTs and the plugins for amps and stuff. So what's your take on that? Is that something that you've kind of embraced and have started using, or use strictly meat and potatoes, old school, my cup of cab?
Usually my cup of cab. I mean, I used to run the Sans Amp program in Pro Tools and stuff because I'm a Pro Tools guy. But about 3 days ago, I purchased the Neural DSP Tone King Imperial plugin. And man, that thing sounds good. It sounds really good. Yeah. It sounds like an amp with a mic in front of it. And I've been messing with it ever since. It's really good. For €99, it's a bargain, man. It sounds really good.
Just going to pop an ad in the description.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should give me the next one for free, you guys. But I haven't heard a lot of the neural DSP stuff, but that was recommended by Ricky Ray, our engineer, drummer guy, who's got his own studio that we sort of record at and everything. And the other day we were out there playing because we kind of rehearse in the studio with like we're recording. And he plugged Suze's telly through this thing. I'm like, man, that sounds great. Yeah, I used to hate it. I still hate it when my singer's guitar sounds better than mine. And you plug this telly through this thing. It sounded phenomenal. He goes, oh, it's this neural DSP thing. So of course I had to did some deep dive on YouTube, picked one up. Pretty good. Yeah. Hopefully we'll hear the results on a Baby Animals record at some point.
So just quickly on that, did Susie record much guitar on your debut album or on the first two albums, or did you do everything?
I pretty much did everything. She did the solo in Stupid on Shades and Dangerous, the Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of thing. But just for ease of expediency, I'll play the guitar just so we can get the part done, pretty much.
Yeah.
Shades and Dangerous cops a bit of slack because it's, it may be a bit more progressive and didn't follow suit. But for me, like, Don't Tell Me What to Do is probably like favorite all-time song from you guys, and that comes off that album. So kudos to you, man, because that's a sick song.
Thanks, man.
I really dig that song. I think that whole album's really, really good as well. It's it's such a good album. But for me, like that song in particular is just it's like the perfect song. So good job.
Wow, thanks, Dale. Oh, cool. Because it was kind of like my music and Suze's words sort of thing. And we had some fun with it because there's some funny chords in there. And then there's a reverse guitar solo in there where we flip the tape. Yeah. And there's a Leslie cabinet in there because the verse chords are through, it's like a strat through a Leslie. So I got a chance to kind of experiment and do some stuff. So that was good. That was really good fun. So I appreciate that, man. Thanks.
Oh, man, like,
we still do
there's some stuff going on.
Fun to play.
There's some chordal stuff going on in the chorus. Instead of trying, like, dude, that chord change in the chorus is sick.
Oh,
like it's
the last chord I think you finish on. Yeah. Is it Don't Tell Me What to Do?
The B flat. The B flat.
And it's over the melody, man. It's like, wow, what a chord choice.
F to A to B flat. Guitar's a bit out of tune. But, there's some good bits in it. It was written on my grandmother's back doorstep one time. I may or may not have been smoking marijuana. I'm not sure.
I think may. What I know of you, definitely marijuana. Marijuana and a big hat.
Dude, just... Yeah.
Yes, it might have just visited me from somewhere. Yes.
Just before we sort of wind up, man, I also just want to just pry you on something. So we talked about this off air just before, but I'm pretty sure I saw you on an episode of Deal or No Deal. Is that correct? And did you just miss out on winning a ton of money?
Just missed out, right? By about 3 seconds or something like that, because we had the shark. I went on there because I just wanted to meet Andrew O'Keefe. Like, I'm a big fan of the show, right? I don't mind a bit of, my capacity for mindless trivia knows no bounds. So I thought I'll sign up for this show. Yeah. And I went through the audition process and everything like that. And, one of the questions was, what do you expect to gain from this? What do you hope? What's your outcome? And, is it money? Is it like a trip? Or is it this, that, or the other? I just want to be on TV. And I said, I'll just be happy to leave the interview with my dignity intact. And I just sort of left it at there. And so we went on and I got this team and did a pretty good cash builder, did like 16,000. So it's really funny. And it's like, hi, I'm Dave. I play guitar in a rock and roll band. And it was a bit of a piss take. But it was still good, but the others were taking it pretty seriously, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think we got about 62,000 in our cash builder and we got beaten. I think we got 21 steps and we got beaten by the shark in about 2 or 3 seconds or something like that. It was a cliffhanger. But it was a great experience, that's for sure. I'd do it again. I don't think they let you back on once you've been on, but I'd go in again any old day. It was great fun. Yeah.
I don't normally watch the show. I had watched it, but I remember watching it. I just randomly turned it on that day and I saw you and I'm like, man, I'm pretty sure that's the guitarist from the Baby Animals. And then it got to the end because I'm like, I had to watch for the rest of it then. And then it got to the end, and yeah, as you said, you would mass like 60 grand, and you're getting close. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna win it. And then when you guys missed it, dude, your face was just, you were demo. It was just, you're like, oh,
Oh, nothing worse than a sore loser. Yeah, it was funny because it had been a long day too. I don't know what time we kind of filmed, but we had to be there at like 5 a.m. or something like that.
yeah,
It'd been a really long day.
yeah,
But we got close. And then
awesome,
the Shark came down after, as the credits are rolling or whatever, after it's finished, he came down. He's like, oh, my wife works for your publishing company, blah, 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 blah. We had this good old chat. It was really cool, actually. Yeah, the whole experience was great. Yeah.
Where else have you seen Dave before?
Oh, yeah, dude, you wouldn't remember this, but I did a gig down in Melbourne once on the waterfront in Melbourne. It was this is years ago now, but because I'm living in Hobart, but I used to live in Melbourne, and yeah, I came past. I was walking back. I forget what it's called. It's the wharf car park where the DFO is or whatever it is there.
Oh yeah.
And got into the elevator, and you're in the elevator, and I'm like, are you the guy from Baby Animals? And for some reason, I just had a memory blank, and I just forgot your name. You're like, yeah. And then I think you must have done some cover gigs down that way or something you were saying. So that was the other time I saw it.
Not long after I moved to Melbourne, like 10 or so-ish years ago, I was doing covers in and around that kind of precinct.
Yeah. Right.
Hopefully I wasn't rude to you.
Oh, no, you're awesome. No, but I was just weird. I was just like, I'm in the because I loved your playing, man. I'm a huge fan of your playing, and I love the Baby Animals. Like, it's like honestly one of my favorite records, and your playing's amazing. And it was just crazy to be in the elevator with you. And I got a bit fanboyish for maybe about 2 minutes while in the elevator, and then I had to split.
Oh, cool, man. Well, thanks for reminding me. I'm just glad I wasn't rude. You know what I mean? Because
no, absolutely not. No,
try not to be. Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah.
I know we could chat all night. We could be here all night.
Man, we did. Rick Arson. Sorry, that's right. We did. Man, we went for an hour and a half, dude. We could have easily talked to him for 4 hours.
And then we switched it off, and we're still chatting.
We loved it.
It's crazy.
I know. I felt bad. I'm like, man, we said an hour, but I don't want to take too much of your time. It's like nearly 2 hours here. It's crazy.
Yeah, but, he's a nice fella too. Wow.
Oh,
he's a nice dude. Yeah.
Awesome guy. But dude, Dave, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Really, really appreciate it. We're obviously just an early channel, sort of like, starting to hopefully grow. Honestly, man, really, really appreciate you coming on and sharing all these stories with us.
Man, well, to follow Brett Garr said, the honor's all mine. So thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me on. It's really cool.
Cheers,
and we'll stay in touch, no doubt.
Oh,
awesome.
for sure. Dave,
thanks so much, Dave.
There'll be toilet selfies, there'll be everything. I'll just flick you messages.
Fantastic.
Dave's going to kill fucking day off. He's done.
Awesome.
It sounds great. Well, all the best with it, you guys. I'm
cheers.
Honored to be involved. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dave. Catch you soon, brother. Thank you.
Good on you guys. Thank you. Have a good night.